I love Angel from Montgomery. It was written by John Prine, one of our finest songwriters to ever live. And I always marvel at the fact that he was able to get inside the psyche of a woman who was kind of grappling with being at the end of her life and have this insight to just be so connected with the human experience that being a man, he was able to write this beautiful song. And Bonnie Raitt has always been one of my favorite singers and musicians, so it was an honor to be able to sing it today.
Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. Believing this living is just a hard way to go.
One song that we sang for you today is called Gentleman, and it was a dedication to my son. But I did write it before I even knew he was on the way, and it's a song that explores identity and how we can be more gentle with ourselves in a world that's not always so gentle. The first verse is directed at a young boy, like my baby, who's just beginning to navigate who he might be in the world. And then the second verse is someone who might be stuck in some patterns and cycles that they're trying to examine and break. And I think that that gentleness is readily available to all of us. So I like putting songs like that out in the world that might help people who are grappling with any issues in their life. I wrote the song with my friend Lawrence Rothman, and there was a different lyric in the first verse that was more specific to the age of this young man that we were first talking about. And then when Graham had arrived and I was recording the song, we changed it to Take Your Time, You're Only in the Dawn of Life, to specifically cater to Graham just being, on the frontier of what's to come as he finds out who he is. Gentleman is a song I wrote with my friend Lawrence Rothman, and it examines identity and our place in the world and some kind of heavier topics, but it is a reminder to us to be kind with ourselves as we're navigating this world that can be sometimes increasingly violent, and aim that compassion at ourselves and at one another as we are figuring it out together.
All you gotta do before you understand is be a gentleman. Be a gentleman. Be a gentleman. Be a gentleman.
A Beautiful Land is a song that Old Crow Medicine Show invited me to be a part of, and I just loved the message. The first time I heard it, I thought the world would be a better place having this song in it, and the whole album is a love letter to our country, and I think that that song in particular has a great place on the album, especially during this time, because it's about being welcoming to everybody.
People take a chance on each other and see what a beautiful land this might be.
I think there are parts of me that I'm able to uncover through songwriting that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have been able to access. And an example of that is the title track of my new album. It's called Half Moon. It was written 2 days before my son was born, and I was feeling so many things that I wasn't really able to articulate just in conversation. But with my friends Lawrence Rothman and Daniel Tashian, and the act of writing a song about all those feelings, I think I was able to kind of wrap my head around the fact that I was feeling joy and hope and fear and insecurity, and all of these things were true, and there's a collision of them, but in the form of a song and melody, I was able to just capture those feelings. And in retrospect, I look back and listen to that song now, and I'm like, I knew exactly how I felt. I just needed music to help me, maybe capture those complicated feelings. I think all the great songwriters of the Brill building era, like Carole King, is a great songwriter who it wasn't about the arrangements of her music necessarily, or the production rather. It was just about the message and the melody, and that's why it's just remained so timeless. So people like that, I think, make me want to be a better writer. A timeless song has to really be rooted in lyrical connection. I think there's some simplicity to it and restraint that a lot of artists need to show if they're trying to make something that will last. I think that connection and that story is paramount to a timeless song. I find inspiration in my songs by living out there in the real world. I think touring and getting to travel all over the world and meet all these different communities is a very useful tool for inspiration. And the connection that music brings, I think you can start the evening in a crowded room full of strangers, and by the end of the show, everyone feels this bond with each other just because of what we've all been through together. And I think music is one of the few things that commands your presence and your attention and makes you live in the moment, and that's why I crave it so much. I feel very lucky to have engaged an audience of people who really prioritize the live show. And I think over the years, we've just consistently stayed on the road touring, and with all these things going on in the music industry, there's a lot of tangential stuff with algorithm blues and this not being there in the moment. I feel like we've built something that's really sustainable and meaningful in terms of the bond I have with my audience that comes to the live shows. I want to continue to grow that, and I think me being an artist who merges into a lot of different genres, I've been lucky to be on a lot of different stages and environments, but I think that with this album, it might galvanize people's perspective on the kind of music that I make. I've been honing my sound for a long time. I think there's a lot of consistency in the last couple albums in particular, but I'm just aiming for that timeless music, Americana, soul, and it's all there, and I feel like I've been telling a pretty cohesive story now for a while. It took me a minute to figure that out, but I do think we're there. I hope that they listen to the album, and it's meant to meet people wherever they are at. There's a lot of duality on this album. There's light and dark. It's called Half Moon. It really chronicles the first season of me loving my son, but also returning to myself after this big transformation. I think that we're all doing that. We're all trying to wax and wane and grow and return to ourselves and become new things. And that's a process that I was really immersed in when I was making this music. So I kind of think that that should be a journey that people can go on when they listen to it, if they're going through whatever changes they're going through as well.